All right, we are live. Okay. So, for whomever might be listening to this talk, this is Veronica, myself, Luis, and Erica on the screen. Luis is my husband. Erica is like my best friend for a very long time, and we're all course students. And we decided to start recording our conversations because, like, we've been doing all together the course for over, I think, 10 years at least, each of us, some others more than others. But we always we visit each other and then sometimes we're on the phone and we have like these amazing, very deep conversations. And at the end of the conversations, most of the time we're like, oh my God, like I wish we would have recorded that. Like that was so good. And last time that we had a great conversation, it was actually in Erika's apartment. We decided to, you know what, let's start recording them. So we just thought that, our personal experiences might be very beneficial to other people that are on the same path. And, we're just going to be just talking amongst ourselves in a very real, normal conversation kind of way. And I guess you get to listen in as you're doing right now. So that's it for the preamble to this talk. You guys want to say anything?
Well, I was gonna say, I guess it's normal that as it can be, since we know that we're being recorded. So, I've got to be on my best behavior. And I was gonna say, for those that don't know, Vero's referring to the Course in Miracles as the course. So,
what did you say?
That you are referring to the Course in Miracles as in the course.
Correct. Yes.
For those that might want to know what's the course.
Yes. Course in Miracles, it's a big blue book, very deep spirituality, non-dualistic, one of the most advanced spiritualities that there are nowadays. And, even though we all like carry out very, very normal lives, for each and every one of us, the course is completely like that under river that runs our lives. And we're like so committed to it. And, it's changed all of our lives. And, we love sharing about it and talking and sort of sharing with each other the things that we're going through and our understanding of it and how it's changed and the glitches that we still come up against and things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then just to make the clarification, it's a Course in Miracles and it has no religious denomination. It's for everyone.
All right. As long as you believe, at least on some level, that there is like a bigger power within you, that's, you can supplement that for God or use God if that is, the higher power that you believe in, or, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, or Buddha, or the universe, or, I don't know, your chair that you bow down to. So, okay.
Anything works, anything you put faith into it.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's begin talking, guys. It's so good to see your faces.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's right. I mean, because we know we're being recorded, it's gonna feel a little different. But I'm just curious, guys. How was your week, Veronica? We haven't spoken in a few weeks. And...
Yeah, it's been like a month since the last time that we were in New York. I was just this Saturday, the last Saturday, I translated for John Mundy, and I was reminded that the last time we had a conversation like this was a month ago in your apartment because I was also translating for him that day. So
when Luis was very inspired.
Was I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that was a juicy one. How are you doing with parents and children?
Ooh, parents and children. I've been reading the Spanish version, and I have to say it's been very tough. Padres y hijos. Spilled coffee on it and everything, so now it's no longer a very holy book. But I've listened to that talk many, many, many times, and I don't know. It's amazing when I listen to Ken Wapnick. The richness, just the words behind the words, just the way he provides the information. That's beautiful, complicated yet simple. And I think for me, what's going on and what's constant is this need to kind of observe my judgment of others. From him that it kind of provides a mirror to our inner condition. So I'm constantly looking at my attraction to others, or the need to say this person's a good person. Oh, I like this person versus, oh, this person me cae mal, or this person, I don't know about this person. So constantly looking at my judgments and my attractions, and always just watching my, the ego in play in those situations. So it's a lot. It feels like a lot because it's a constant practice. It's constantly being aware of all your, crazy thoughts. It's work, but
I think
I keep it simple.
Yeah, I've seen.
Have you heard that talk, Nina?
What's that?
Have you heard the talk or have you read that book?
Yeah. I'm actually reading the book, and it's been very helpful, not just for my relationship with my parents, but even my boss, my manager, right? Like anybody whom I see as the authority, I can use what I'm reading in that book, right? Like we always want to blame on someone else, why I'm feeling a certain way, why I get upset. I get upset because my boss, I don't know, talked to me in a way that I didn't expect, or I get upset because I didn't make that sale, I didn't close that deal. And in this book, in Parents and Children, Kenneth Wapnick explains how, in this case was Bill, who was very upset for most of his life with his dad because his dad did something, quote unquote, crazy in the office. And he always blamed it on his father. He always blamed he thought that the reason why he felt the way he was feeling was because of his father, or at least that's my understanding. And it's been so helpful. I mean, obviously, Kenneth Wapnick breaks it down in a very effective and easy way. But once you read it, it's like so obvious. Like it was never about what was happening outside. It was about my interpretation, because other person could have had the same exact experience and react in a completely different way. Like for Bill, or like for me, right? Like if my manager, tells me certain things, I get upset, I get frustrated, I get discouraged. For someone else, they may ignore it, they may not even notice it. So it's really interesting. It's like that's our freedom, like
The first time that I listened to that talk, it was actually in Spanish on YouTube because it's there like both parts. Están en español. Y it was just so incredibly helpful. Like I think it stirred up a lot of things for me, like with my grandmother and how guilty I felt when she was passing, and helping me see that, like, okay, you might have made some mistakes and whatever, but you can remember all of the amazing things and all of the beautiful moments that you shared and all that stuff. It's like, we choose to relive all the negative things, and we constantly relive the negative things and constantly relive the negative things. And it's not because the negative things were the most important. It's really because of our, hidden attraction towards guilt and our desire to stand with the ego instead of allowing the miracle to take place. And it was just so helpful. And yeah, there's so many things in that talk that I actually have sections that I put aside because I wanted to make audios in Spanish of those sections. Like there's one about how couples may think that, the most loving thing that they can do is stay together because of their kids. And he talks about how, even if you're not being aggressive towards your partner or whatever, but there is like this underlying sort of decision that like, okay, we don't love each other, we're not really together, we're just putting a facade so that the kids think everything is okay. How on some level the kids are always still getting that message, you know, and how it's actually a lot better, you know, to tell them the truth of what's happening, but to show them that not because the parents are not together, that doesn't mean that they can, you know, respect each other and care for each other, and that the kids are still being protected by both parents. And I just thought like that was such an incredible section because the way he talks about it is
I guess that's
just
an
so,
important
so
point, right? As long as you find a way to show them that they are being protected by both parents. Because I imagine, you know, that's the fear that will come up for a little kid, right? You're 10 years old, 12 years old, 8, 15, and either, you know, if I'm not going to have my mom or my dad is, yeah, I mean, I guess you can't help but project that loneliness and that void into the parents' separation.
yeah. And it also made me think of how it's always just better to lead with the truth. You know, like even though like a lot of times like we don't tell the truth because we think that we need to protect the other person or they can't deal with it. Oh, okay, yeah, that was the part that really struck me from what Ken was explaining. And it's like if you don't tell the child the truth, you're telling the child, you know what, you're incapable to deal with the truth. And you're not good enough, you know, and I'm going to do this to protect you, but I'm really not respecting the power of your mind. And that was just like, whoa.
Why do you think we're afraid that kids won't be able to deal with that?
I mean, I think there's a very big emotional aspect to it, obviously, but also I think it's very hard for us to break free from society's norms and this idea of what perfect looks like, right? So, you know, we think a perfect family is a family that stays together.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like that's not the case. You know, there is perfection in each parent finding their own way and, you know, acknowledging that they have kids together and supporting them and all that stuff. But if they're not um choosing to if they don't want to continue in the relationship, um that's still okay. Like that doesn't mean it's not perfect, you
Do you
know.
think we do it like we stay in relationships because we have learned that that's what we should do, even though even if love is not there. I mean, the romantic love is not
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's like a job, you know, like you sign up for a job and you think that quitting the job is failure, so you don't do it and you just stay there. Um, or other similar situations. And I think for relationships, it's the same. Like we think, oh, I should stay together with this person and I should try to make it work, even if it's to the detriment of myself, because I don't want to show everyone else that I'm a failure. So then we are trying to protect the kids from so they don't get hurt because we think we're failing. And it's like, wait a minute, you know, there is a way, or like how can we find um betterment for everyone while still being true to ourselves? And it's like that line that Ken is always drawing between form and content. Whereas like, well, you know, the form may look different, but if the content underneath is still love and sort of transparency, then that's what matters, you know? And so many times, like, we're just so stuck on the form of things that we completely forget about the content. And the content is what's being communicated. And like, that's the big point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think a lot, as you guys are speaking, I'm like, wow, so many things coming up for me. But, you know, I think Ken talked about a situation where I think his uncles got into a fight. His uncle, maybe, and his dad. And so I guess he woke up and he was trying to figure out what was going on. And I think his mom might have said, hey, look, no, it's okay. Nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's that sense that we need to protect I think he also mentioned tuberculosis, or maybe one of his family members was sick.
Yeah, his dad
He
had
overheard the
tuberculosis.
conversation. Then he was asking his teacher, "Hey, what does this mean?" But yeah, there's a sense that we need to protect our children, put them in a bubble so that they're safe.
Mm.
Whereas that's probably to their detriment by not really just being honest with them and sharing with them, what's truly going on.
Yeah.
And on the part about like staying in a marriage, yeah, I could speak to that. Whereas for me, I felt a very strong, in my first marriage, a very strong necessity to be a better father and a better husband than my dad was. So that was the drive. And I think that was also part of the drive to stay perhaps a lot longer than I did in the marriage. And so that came to a full circle. And I think in retrospect, it's easy to look back and see, but while you're in it, it's very kind of difficult to see that, where things are happening, or you just feel like, well, these are the rules of society and I need to stay, and make this work for the kids, even though it was not necessarily working for us,
Mm.
Yeah, and I think long term, it's tricky because obviously, like, if you don't want to be in a relationship anymore, and then you're saying, well, I'm doing it for the kids, in a way, it's like you're telling the kid, oh, it's your fault that I'm staying in this and being miserable, right? So it's like you can grow up and sort of raise this child and putting on them, which is totally unwarranted, like all this responsibility that, oh, okay, my happiness is a result of you, or my unhappiness is a result of you. So it's like a huge weight that the kid grows up with, and if that's always like underneath the surface, then you can never really have like a good relationship with that child, you know. So yeah, there's a lot there. And that was like one of the pieces that I really wanted to record. And coincidentally, like this had nothing to do with Luis when I was thinking about it. It was actually based on an experience that someone else shared with me, that there was a person that was like staying in a marriage completely unhappy, and they were like, no, but I have to do it because of my daughter, and I have to do it because of my daughter, and I need to protect her, I need to be there for her, and all these things, where it's like, wow, like you're basically teaching your child to live through sacrifice and through pain, and you're teaching yourself and reinforcing that same thought system within you, and being too scared to follow your own path and your own truth, and your desire to seek other things and not being in that relationship anymore. So yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I mean, maybe at some point in time, like it made sense that you will stay with your partner, even if there wasn't the romantic love. And I'm just talking, based on my experience from my mom. I mean, like she had 7 kids, and my father was doing a lot of things that she didn't agree with, and they almost got divorced, several times. But she wouldn't leave him because what would she do with 7 kids? Like it was just practical, and like we all know that in the house. And I don't know if I felt that guilt because my mom stayed in it, but I did feel very sad because she basically denied herself the opportunity of living happier life because of the quote unquote sacrifice that she was doing. But actually, no, not quote unquote. It was actually a sacrifice that she felt she needed to do for us. There's a lot of, like I feel very grateful to her for sure, but there is that sadness. So maybe there is, maybe behind that sadness, there is guilt. Like, like she did it for us. I guess I haven't searched enough. But the sadness is, we see it. Like, I mean, when we talk, with my brothers and sisters, we all talk about like, it's amazing, like they just didn't, they didn't love each other as, like with this romantic love, but they stay in a relationship for 55 years because it was practical. So it's like it worked out, but it is sad, you know. So it's really cool to see that, you know, like we have so many options now, not just options like, oh, I can get divorced and whatever, but like we have options to grow and see things differently. And if that separation happens, it can happen in peace. But if you stay together, you can still be at peace, which is what I always desired for my mom. But maybe that wasn't what she wanted for her. So I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end it's like it becomes a forgiveness lesson, whether you decide to stay or leave, you know, and maybe that's just part of your path. But I think, you know, going back to Ken's talk, and I don't think it's in that one that he mentions it, it might be in a different one, but he says, and this was probably like one of the deepest like whoa lines that I ever heard him say, because it really impacted me, and I'm gonna tell you why later. But he says, the fact that you disagree doesn't mean you hate. And I feel like that is probably like one of the biggest challenges that we are called on to really.
But what do you mean by that, Veronica? I didn't get that.
So I can't remember in what context.
The fact that you disagree doesn't mean that you hate.
I don't remember what context
doesn't mean that you hate each other.
He was using it, but like it can be applied to so many things. Like, and for me, what I was applying it to in that moment was, you know, there's all these different interpretations of the course that are out there, and some are like very far off, some are a little closer, and you know, there's a lot of misinterpretation. But at the end, and then obviously like I see it in a specific way, right? But the fact that we disagree, right, that I may disagree with other people, doesn't mean that I have to hate them. And that was like, wow, because for a long time, when I started finding out about all these misinterpretations, that it was something that I suspected from a very, like, years before that, I just felt so much anger, you know, of like feeling deceived and yada, yada, yada. But then when, you know, the process evolved and stuff, and then I was seeing things differently, and then I heard that line, and that was like, wow, yes, you know, we're all on a different path. And it's like, it's okay if you believe something else, that's fine. Like, I don't have to hate you. Jesus Christ. Like, woof, I take off like that load. And, you know, and in couples, like, I think that's the same. And I applied that with Luis on some circumstances where it's like, we have different opinions on things. And, you know, parents that are no longer together and that have kids, it's like, okay, you know, we can have different opinions, but it doesn't mean we have to hate each other. Like, wow, like, yeah, you know, we're used to thinking that if we defer even just a little bit, I have the right to freaking hate you and want to send you overboard and wish you to die.
You know, in the context of children too, it's sometimes parents don't want to have an argument in front of their children. Maybe it's because of that hate that brews within, but you can have a disagreement in front of your children, but be loving and just kind of agree to disagree, and not kind of shelter them and put them in a bubble and say, well, let's not talk about this right now. Let's talk about this, you know, some other time. And obviously there are topics that perhaps children don't necessarily need to be privy to, you know, like the subject of, I don't know, I guess there are things that may be beyond their level of maturity to fully comprehend. But yeah, people tend to not want to have a disagreement in front of children because they want to protect them. But Vero, you mentioned something like about...
Yeah, you want to protect them from your own hate that may spring up, because it's like we want to hate. And I feel like that, right, like when we're not addressing that correctly, it communicates this message to the child that no, you just have to shut up and be quiet. Like if you have a different opinion, just shut up and be quiet and never share anything. And that's actually, it's destructive, you know?
That was my life. That is, you know, when I was growing up, and it just creates so many inconsistencies, you know. It's like you grow up, you know, you go to work, and then it's like you see something and you want to be honest about it and you want to say it, but at the same time, you have this thought in the back of your mind that your parents told you, no, you shouldn't say that. Don't say you don't agree with this. No.
Mhm.
And I was thinking of something when you were sharing, about that quote that you read, from Ken Wapnick. You can disagree, but you don't have to hate. That's what we have done forever. You're from a different religion, you're from a different political party. It's it's extremely common to see human beings disagreeing about something and then they just cannot be together in the same room.
Right,
They
exactly.
cannot have a peaceful discussion. There's war.
And it's
don't
like we
agree with me, there's
forget
war.
that we're the same.
Oh, that wouldn't
And
even
that's like the
matter.
basic thing that we're trying to learn.
You know what's great about the course is that even when that hate comes up, I mean, you have a choice, right? You could just say, "Oh, I'm being hateful," and I'm just going to suppress it and push it aside, or I can say, "Notice that coming up in me," and just allow myself to look at it, kind of outside of that framework of the ego thought system, and that automatically puts you in spirit, a Holy Spirit, the way the course puts it. It has you looking at it from the perspective of Holy Spirit. And what's great about it is that you can see that hate rise above, and you don't necessarily have to do anything but just look at it. And that's how I try to look at things when judgment comes up, or you brought up a conversation with your boss, Erica. I was having a conversation with him, and I noticed immediately my defense system kind of coming up, because I'm in my mind, I'm like, am I doing enough? I should be at this level right now, even though I just started. But I saw that defense system kind of building and building and building, and me trying to maybe make up some stuff to make it sound like I'm doing more than what I'm actually doing, which is really a lot right now. But just allow myself to look at that and just step back and just say, look what you're doing, and then just smile gently and not judge.
Yeah.
Beat myself up for it.
Yeah. My favorite request when I'm like meditating in the morning and doing the
Cheers.
You make some requests. You have some requests every morning.
Yeah, so you guys know that every morning I do the process of rules for decision, right? That's on chapter 30, 31, I can't remember now. But my big request every single day is, Holy Spirit, when I choose my ego, help me to look at it and without judgment, let it go. Like, because obviously it's going to come up. You're going to choose your ego, but it's like, how do you deal with that? How do you react to your own ego? Because the moment you start like watching yourself as you're acting from the ego, like you're already from a perspective of the Holy Spirit. Okay.
Yeah, that's really good.
I just got a notification that we have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Wow, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun.
We can keep the conversation over the phone later.
Yeah, or something like that. But can we like use this time also to check in with ourselves? Because I feel like if we don't do it now, like we're not gonna, these like conversations are just gonna be based on the course.
What do you mean by check in with yourself?
Like, how are you, Erika? How was your last, like we haven't spoken this whole month. What have you been up to?
It's been good. I
We
mean,
miss you.
guys, I was so busy after you guys left. When is it that you left?
I mean, a month ago.
Yeah, it was just right before August. So I got really busy because I told you that the landlord I'm working with, they were working with a different company, blah, blah, blah. They basically, the landlord, I guess, he argued with the owner of that company. So right now they're not giving any more apartments to them, and they're sending all apartments to me. So basically I had all of this sudden, I had 9 vacancies. So 9 apartments to rent. And
That's great.
it got crazy. It got very busy.
You know what I love, and that I kind of like want to laugh at it, how scared you were that you weren't going to have enough work and that the recession, this whole thing, and now you've just been super busy, and I'm like, see, like you don't have to be scared.
And it always happens, and then we forget, right?
I mean, yeah, like I have always been taken care of. When you know, always.
By
Because
the way, if
when
anyone hearing this like lives in New York or has any real estate needs in New York, this is a plug for Erica. She's in real estate and she's like ass kicking, like she'll get it done, whatever needs to be done.
yep, rentals or sales. Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
be grateful you called me. Very tough market. Very, very tough
I
market.
believe it.
So
Yeah.
you've been super busy with all the rentals.
I rented 8 apartments in 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So it was really good. It was
Do you
really
have
good.
time to eat?
For 1 week, all I was doing was just working. Like I hardly, I mean, I was eating maybe 2 meals a day. And I was like, I need to get this done. This is what I was asking for. So let me get it done. But it was really cool because it wasn't that like fear of this is gonna go away. Like it's different. It's different. It is what it is. You know, you just get it done and I can do this. So
Right.
what a lesson. Yeah, what a lesson. It's like all of a sudden, you know, you think that, oh my God, yes, the market is so bad, you know, there's gonna be a recession. Um, you know, maybe I don't have as many listings right now. And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, which the key and the cool thing about it is that I chose to be peaceful before, you know, before I got busy. So, you know, after you guys came here, I was in a really good state. I was in a really good state and I just chose to stay there. And then this happened. So it was good that I was already in a good state because then it's not like, you know, it's not like I convinced myself that my happiness is coming from, you know, renting 8 apartments in 1 week. It's just it was there. So this is exciting, right? Like this is exciting and I can enjoy it from, you know, from the character that I represent here. But yeah, it's just, you know, one more lesson. So it's been really good. It's been really good. Obviously, you know how this is. It's a roller coaster, but as long as I'm willing to, you know, to ask for help, it's just yeah, the roller coaster just feels a lot better.
Right.
What
How are
about you
you,
guys? What are your
how are you doing, babe? Because I feel like this week we haven't really had a chance to like even connect because we've been so busy.
Oh yeah.
So
No,
like
I'm doing
you're
well.
in the other room right now, and this is like when I get to check in with you.
Yes, we're in separate offices doing our work.
it's a very modern couple. They connect via Zoom while they're in the same house.
You know, that does bring me to the idea that, regardless of what is happening, it's always good to connect. No matter how crazy the world is, it's important to just be like,
So
wow, there
important.
you are, I see you. But yeah, no, busy, busy with work
How's the
and
new
all
job?
my to-dos. My new job is great. It's a lot more of, what fits and feels right, in terms of the type of product, and the type of client. And so, yeah, I just show up, and play my role as best as I can, knowing that, in the background, there's a lot more going on. But yeah, so it's been very, 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 very busy. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been crazy, and I'm still poking away, just trying to not allow myself to get overwhelmed because there is a lot to do, but just take everything one step at a time. And know that it'll all just flow and come, it'll just all fall into place. So, what
I'm
about
very
you, Vero? How are you?
I'm very proud of you for keeping at it. And no, I feel like what you're saying right now is exactly how I feel and what my practice has been the last couple of weeks. That is like, okay, I know there's like these million things that need to do, but I'm just gonna like find that non-judgmental loving space within myself that will automatically dictate me what I should take care of first. And it's, it's funny. My mom told me the other day, she's like, Vero, remember that que de la carrera solamente queda el cansancio. From you rushing, the only thing that you have left is being tired, right? And it's been like that practice of, okay, let me stand in that loving space. It's not about the form. It's a successful day is not about how many things I get done, but about the healing in my mind. And while I do that, I can still be effective. And it's been just allowing things to flow and taking care of one thing after another, and focusing on the relationship that I'm having along that time. Like when that happens, I'm working on 2 very demanding projects in their own way right now, and it's like totally like what I wanted. But it's like pushing me in ways that I'm not necessarily used to, and it's kind of like what you were saying, Erika, that is like, all right, well, this is happening, like I must be capable of doing it, and I'm just gonna take it, step by step, and just just do it. And it's like I have to remember, I'm not doing this through my own strength. I'm doing this through the strength of the Holy Spirit in me, which has nothing to do with what the body is doing, but that strength of being able to decide differently and remember the truth and the oneness of what's happening with everyone that's involved in these situations. Like that's the strength that's there, and that's what's gonna make sure that whatever happens is the best for everyone. So yeah, it's like breathe. Yes, I'm doing what I need to do. It's okay. If you can't get it done today, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. Thank you, Nina.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like, I'm rushing because I'm such a perfectionist to like get everything done and everything lined up. And at the end of the day, it's like my clients didn't even need it that fast. They had told me they did, but it's like things came up for them and whatever and whatever. And, when I allow myself to be, mildly late and I communicate with them, they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Don't even worry about it. And I'm like, see?
Yep.
So yeah, it's like, everything happens at its own time, and we want to control our lives so much, and we really have to realize that no, it's not us, and it's not about the individual, and it's not about the specialness and how an amazing job I'm doing. There's something else going on, and that's what I really want to pay attention to. So I love you guys. It's so good to see you.
Yes, it's so good to see you. Thank you guys for taking the time. And we almost don't do it because we're so busy, right? But
right.
Yeah.
We did plan it.
But this is so helpful. So we're gonna continue doing them.
Yeah.
Remember, I'll leave you with this quote that I have written down, that the only meaningful choice is choosing the correct teacher in your mind.
Yes.
It's choosing the correct
teacher in your mind. Yeah. The only meaningful choice is choosing the correct teacher in your mind.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll have that present in my mind today for my showing. I have an appointment at 4:50, so.
Choose the right teacher, no matter what you do.
Not you fail. No, okay.
Yes.
If you choose the wrong one, you can choose again.
Yes.